Bride invites groom's ex to their wedding and calls her on stage only to leave everyone confused. Love and trust aren't everything in a relationship, as anything can go wrong at any time. Differences or situations are the major reasons behind most of the relationship failures. Not to say that all of us are familiar with the extents to which things can get complicated before two people finally give up and break up. While most of us move on to look for a compatible partner, some decide to make it work at any cost. This can result in weird outcomes. If successful, this can also become a good example for the people who are confused with their relationships and want hope to keep going on. How an unsettling truth can also be agreed upon. The story of a couple who brought tears to everyone's eyes. Katie Hild and Jeremy Musser saw each other when they were attending college. The two became friends, and soon Katie realized that they can take their friendship way ahead of it. She felt a spark and belongingness with him, which she didn't feel with anyone else ever. There was something about Jeremy that Katie didn't know yet. Jeremy, on the other hand, liked Katie when he first laid eyes on her. The more he fell for the prettiest woman he ever met. She was caring and kind-hearted. As the months passed, Jeremy started believing that she is the only one made for him. But there was one side of their relationship that they never discussed upon. Jeremy took Katie out for a dinner date. He had something serious to discuss with her. No, he wasn't going to ask her if she'll marry him yet. Rather, he brought her there to share his past and tell her how it's still connected with his present and will always remain an important part of his future as well. Katie sat there silently to listen to what the guy she loves was so concerned about. When Jeremy was done speaking, Katie understood that they were not in a regular kind of relationship. Jeremy told her that there was a girl named Casey who recently gave birth to his child. Although he made it clear that he is not in love with Casey, he couldn't give up his kid. He assured Katie that there was never anything meaningful between him and the other woman, but his kid means a lot to him. But Casey had some big issues. When Casey got to know about her pregnancy, she tried to get back with Jeremy, but he wasn't ready for it. She was disheartened by the fact that the father of her unborn baby was not going to live with her and build a family. Casey didn't want to leave her baby to some other woman. She was uncomfortable, and so was Katie. Katie had an option to step out of this relationship and look for an ordinary one, but she didn't. The love she saw for herself in Jeremy's eyes couldn't let her just walk away. She knew the road was going to be tough. Still, she wanted to make it work, as she knew Jeremy was being honest and he needed help. So Katie was going to stay, but she had a long way to go, and she didn't know what was coming next for her. Since the first time Katie saw baby Landon in the images, she loved him. When she met the baby, she felt like a mother to him. She was always concerned about Casey and her relationship. She didn't want to spoil everything just by saying something wrong. She knew it might cost Jeremy losing his son. For a long time, both the ladies ignored having a conversation with each other, but how long can it go that way? That's when Katie noticed that this silence between them might negatively affect baby Landon's personality while growing up. In the beginning, Katie didn't want to take any risk, and she maintained a distance with Casey, the mother of baby Landon. Now that Katie and Jeremy completed a year of their relationship, and they knew that they'll soon be planning a future together, this made Katie make an attempt to fill in the gap between her and Casey. They both were in an awkward situation, but soon started getting along together. A relationship that started building with the motive of keeping Landon and Jeremy happy started to grow stronger. They started with bearing the negative vibes and went on to know their true selves. Casey recalled in an interview, "We bonded on so many more levels than just Landon. But one big day brought them to a whole different level." When the two started meeting each other, they just couldn't believe that they shared so many similar interests. The ladies became good friends over the period of months, and no one could be happier than Jeremy to see the important people of his life becoming friends. All the past things came to an end when Casey met the right man and got completely over with her and Jeremy's past. A guy named Tyler accepted Casey wholeheartedly, knowing everything about her. The time for Jeremy to ask the question was around the corner, which meant that things were only going on the right track for all the 5 people. Jeremy and Katie, Tyler and Casey even used to plan dinner nights at times. One fine day, Jeremy finally built up the courage to ask the woman of his life the question that will only bring them closer. When Jeremy asked the most awaited question, he went down on one knee and said, "Will you marry me?" Katie was overwhelmed and said yes without taking a single second. Both had tears in their eyes and couldn't help but think how amazing their lives will be together. Yes, she was prepared, but she was lacking with some things. It was going to happen that in no time, her doubts were going to take over her. Marrying Jeremy was not only about becoming his wife, but also about becoming Landon's stepmother. She was preparing for this for a long time, but she had no idea how it was going to work. Obviously, she was aware that Casey will have a lot of expectations from her. She chose it for herself, and she has to get things going now. In no ways, Katie could ignore the fact that she was going to get into confusing relationships. Katie will be co-parenting Landon and Jeremy, Casey and Tyler. It was challenging and a demanding role that she will be expected to play. The only thing that was affecting her the most was that it might make a negative impact on him. Katie was not a mother herself, and she wasn't sure if she was capable of what was expected out of her. Right when she was holding on to so many thoughts, an idea came to her mind. She didn't know if this idea will work or not, but it was the only thing that was keeping her hopes high. She started preparing for it. After a month of preparations, finally their wedding day was here. The biggest day was here, and Katie and Jeremy were all set for it. A grand wedding was going to take place that was going to bring two people together. When the most significant part of the wedding, the vows, were here, Katie had something going on her mind. Katie took the vows very seriously. She wrote it down beforehand and was ready to make it clear that with this wedding, she was going to become a part of both Jeremy and Landon's lives. She was ready to bring it in everyone's mind that she was up to it. Katie knew very well about where she stood when talking about experience in raising a kid, and marrying with Jeremy meant that she'll be bringing up Landon with Casey, Jeremy, and Tyler. So she didn't know how to be better at what she has never done before, and certainly she'll be needing a lot of help. This self-realization made Katie rethink all she was going to do at her wedding. She knew it was a bold step, but she went ahead anyway. Then I realized I'm missing something, the piece that helped shape me and Jeremy's relationship and helped us grow up. I need Casey to know how thankful I am to her, said Katie. As Katie was very serious about inviting Casey and Tyler to her wedding, she felt that she had done the right thing. The feeling was strong, and Katie enjoyed the positive vibes that started surrounding her. Also, she had a hidden agenda that nobody was aware of, not even the groom. What in the world could it be? It was time to make it official and to take the vows and say yes to each other. Everything looked magical: the bride, the groom, the decorations, the whole ceremony. After the wedding ceremony started, it was time for Katie to take her vows, and her words and actions were about to change everyone's point of view for the pretty young lady. When Katie said the vows, she surprised everyone standing there. Katie wasn't even looking at Jeremy, nor was she saying the vows for him. What was she up to, and why was she doing it? Now Jeremy was getting tense with all the ways Katie was behaving. Everyone was confused, and what will she say next was going on in everyone's head. When Katie was looking towards the people at the wedding, the minister gave her a letter and made an announcement on the microphone. The announcement was, "To start their vows, I'd like to invite Tyler and Casey Bender to stand." This made Casey and Tyler uncomfortable. They were trying to understand, but it wasn't making any sense to them at all. After the minister made the announcement, everyone who was present in the church turned back to look at Casey and Tyler's reaction to it. The couple was standing at the back and made their way to the stage. When they reached there and stood next to the bride, the minister gave the mic to Katie to proceed. Everyone was interested in knowing what the bride had to say, and then she started speaking. "First, I want to thank you for accepting me as your friend and allowing me to be a part of Landon's life. I promise to be an amazing mother to your son. I will guide, teach, and love him every single day." Her vows were for Casey and Landon. Each and everyone in the church was overwhelmed by emotions. They never knew this side of the bride. All of her friends always saw her as a bubbly and loving person, but no one knew that she can put so much thought and effort into something. She was mentally prepared to speak, as she had a lot to say. The main thing was that her vows were not only about taking care of Landon, but much more. "And I promise to respect, work, listen, and communicate together as co-parents. I will love you guys no matter what comes our way. We are one family always." She ended her vows with these words. She wanted to tell them that there will never be any carelessness from her side, and she wanted to see Landon become a generous guy. Katie made a strong impact on both of the families with her words. Her assurance made the environment of the room so emotional. Katie, a responsible young woman, showed it to everyone that she was not just saying it for the sake of saying it, but she was also going to prove it to them. Her vows were not yet completed, as she had something for Jeremy and Landon too. The minister made another announcement, and this time he called for Landon. Looking at Landon, Katie couldn't hold back her tears and said, "I love you more than you will ever know. I've had the privilege of knowing you since the beginning." She hugged him, and the little boy said something to her. Katie was expressing her journey of seeing Landon grow during all these years. She said, "I've loved watching you grow, and I will for the rest of my life. I'm so happy that now I officially get to be your bonus mom." Katie was taken completely by Landon's reaction. People were trying to hold back their tears, but it was hard to stop themselves from seeing the strong bond that Landon shared with Katie. Katie even assured Landon about looking after his dad. "I promise to love Daddy with all my heart. I promise to be a best friend to Mommy and your daddy Tyler. We will be one big family that I promise you will have for the rest of your life." She made all the efforts to make the kid's life easier. She wanted that wedding to affect him in a positive manner, which eventually happened. After all that Katie said for Landon and his mother, she stood and hugged her friend and continued her vows with Jeremy. The groom took his vows and they got married. The wedding ceremony connected not just the bride and the groom, but 3 more people who were important in their lives. When Casey and Katie were introduced to Jeremy, none of the 3 thought their lives will get this close. At the time, I thought we would be able to be cordial and co-parent. Never in a million years did I think she and I would be the very best of friends, recalled Casey, describing the new family they were starting. The wedding ceremony wasn't the end, but a start of something very special. Landon was the luckiest one, as the kid had 2 moms to care for him and 2 dads to spoil him. All of them came together for Landon and created an environment that was necessary to bring up a child out of all sorts of discomforts. As kids grow, it becomes a challenge for the whole family to spend together, but here, all 5 of them managed to make time out of their busy schedules to stay in touch. They spend every weekend together, watching Landon's favorite movies, playing his favorite board games. They give him the quality time that every kid deserves. They never skip family dinners. They have it all planned at the beginning of the month, over the table with good food and an ample amount of time to know what's going on in each other's lives. The family is always updated with everyone's ups and downs, and Landon enjoys that time the most. It solely depends on Landon where he wants to stay. The kid has 2 bedrooms, one at Katie's and Jeremy's place, another one at Casey and Tyler's place. Landon stays wherever he wants to and as long as he wants to. He knows that his parents will be seeing him all together at least once a week. He's also been taught about his rituals, life skills, and all the 4 people make efforts to make him a good person. While all 4 people's lives rotate around Landon, they have their days where they can spend time with their partner all alone. On such date nights, the other pair takes care of Landon. This gives them an opportunity to keep the spark in their relationship and plan a better future. The group of 5 also participates in yearly community service projects. They love indulging themselves in doing good deeds for the orphan kids. In this way, Landon has developed this feeling of being thankful and grateful for all that he had received from his life.